I stood frozen on the porch, staring at the suitcase at my feet. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across our manicured lawn, but the chill I felt had nothing to do with the crisp Minneapolis air. You have 5 minutes, Eva. Get out of this house and never look back. I whirled around to face my mother-in-law, Clara, her steely gaze boring into me from the doorway. You can't be serious, Clara. This is my home, too. She thrust an envelope at me, her perfectly manicured nails glinting. Greg left this for you. He wants a divorce. My world tilted on its axis. What? No, that's impossible. Where is he? I need to talk to him. He's not here, Clara said, her voice dripping with disdain. He couldn't bear to face you after everything you've done. Everything I've done? I echoed, my mind reeling. What are you talking about? Clara's lips curled into a sneer. Don't play innocent with me. Greg told me everything about your indiscretions. I felt like I'd been slapped. Indiscretions? Clara, I have no idea what you're talking about. Please, just let me in so we can sort this out. She blocked the doorway, her slim frame somehow filling the entire space. I've already changed the locks. You're no longer welcome here. Panic clawed at my throat. Clara, please, this is insane. I need to talk to Greg. He doesn't want to speak to you, she snapped. Now, take your things and leave before I call the police. My hands shook as I tore open the envelope. Greg's familiar handwriting swam before my eyes. Eva, I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce. Please don't try to contact me. It's over, Greg. This can't be real, I whispered, looking up at Clara. Why wouldn't he tell me himself? Because he's finally seen you for who you really are, she said, her voice cold. Now, your time is up. Leave. As if on cue, a police cruiser pulled into the driveway. Officer Johnson, our neighbor from 2 doors down, stepped out. Everything okay here, Mrs. Trent? He called out. Clara's demeanor instantly changed, her voice syrupy sweet. Oh, Officer Johnson, thank goodness you're here. I'm afraid we're having a bit of trouble with my soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law. I felt the blood drain from my face. Tom, please, I said, using the officer's first name. This is all a misunderstanding. I live here. Clara's lying. I'm sorry, Eva, Officer Johnson cut in, his expression uncomfortable. But if Mrs. Trent says you need to leave, then you need to leave. I looked from Clara's smug face to Tom's apologetic one, feeling utterly betrayed. Fine, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I'll go. But this isn't over, Clara. I grabbed my suitcase, nearly stumbling down the porch steps. As I reached the sidewalk, I turned back one last time. Tell Greg I deserve better than a coward who hides behind his mother's skirts. Clara's face twisted with rage. But before she could respond, I strode away. My head held high despite the tears threatening to spill over. I made it halfway down the block before my composure crumbled. Collapsing onto a nearby bench, I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers. It rang 3 times before a familiar voice answered. Aunt Margaret? It's Eva. I need help. Her warm voice washed over me like a bomb. Eva, sweetheart, what's wrong? They kicked me out. I choked out, the reality of the situation finally hitting me. Greg and Clara, they changed the locks and Greg wants a divorce. Oh, honey. Aunt Margaret sighed. Where are you now? I glanced around, realizing I had no idea where to go. I'm sitting on a bench, a few houses down from what used to be my home. Listen to me carefully, Aunt Margaret said, her voice firm but kind. I want you to call a taxi and come straight to my house. Do you understand? I nodded, then remembered she couldn't see me. Yes, I understand. Good girl. I'll have a hot cup of tea waiting for you. We'll figure this out together, I promise. As I hung up and dialed for a taxi, I caught sight of Clara watching me from the living room window. Our eyes met, and in that moment I made a silent vow. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Aunt Margaret's house smelled like cinnamon and old books, a comforting blend that reminded me of childhood summers spent hiding from the world. I sank into her worn floral couch, clutching a steaming mug of tea. I don't know what to do, Aunt Margaret, I said, my voice cracking. They just threw me out like I meant nothing. She sat beside me, her weathered hand covering mine. Oh, sweetheart, you mean everything. Don't let them make you forget that. I took a shaky breath. But why? Why would Greg do this? We were happy, at least I thought we were. Aunt Margaret's eyes narrowed. Are you certain it was Greg's decision? That letter sounds more like Clara than your husband. A chill ran through me. You think Clara's behind this? I wouldn't put it past her, Aunt Margaret said, her voice hardening. That woman has been trying to come between you two since day one. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Greg's name flashed on the screen. My heart leapt, but Aunt Margaret placed a gentle hand on my arm. Wait, she said. Before you answer, remember how he let you be thrown out of your own home. You deserve an explanation, face to face. I nodded, letting the call go to voicemail. Seconds later, a text appeared. Eva, I'm sorry. Can we talk? My fingers hovered over the keypad, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. What could he possibly say to make this right? You don't have to decide anything tonight, Aunt Margaret said softly. When rest, things might look clearer in the morning. But sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned in the guest room, memories of my life with Greg, playing on an endless loop, the way he'd looked at me on our wedding day, full of love and promise. The quiet evenings we'd spent planning our future. Had it all been a lie? As dawn broke, I made my way to the kitchen, lured by the scent of coffee. Aunt Margaret was already there, reading the newspaper. You're up early, she said, sliding a mug towards me. I managed a weak smile. Couldn't sleep. She folded the paper, her expression serious. Eva, there's something you should see. My stomach dropped as she handed me the society pages. There, in full color, was a photo of Greg at some charity gala, and on his arm, beaming triumphantly, was Clara. This was taken last night, Aunt Margaret said gently. The mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. Coffee splashed across my bare feet, but I barely felt it. He went to a party? I whispered. While I'm here, my whole life in ruins, he's out celebrating with her? Aunt Margaret was already cleaning up the mess, her movements efficient. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I thought you should know. Rage bubbled up inside me, hot and fierce. I need to confront him, both of them. And you will, Aunt Margaret said, her voice steel, but not like this. Not when you're hurt and angry. We need a plan. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since I'd arrived. There was a fire in her eyes I'd never seen before. What do you mean we? I asked. A slow smile spread across her face. You didn't think I was going to let you face those vultures alone, did you? Clara may have won this battle, but mark my words, Eva. We're going to win the war. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a glimmer of hope. Where do we start? Aunt Margaret's smile turned predatory. First we need to understand exactly what we're up against. It's time to do some digging into Clara's past. I have a feeling she's hiding more than a few skeletons in her designer closet. As we bent our heads together, plotting our next move, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Greg. Please, Eva, I need to explain. Meet me at our spot in the park, 2 p.m. I showed the message to Aunt Margaret. Her eyes glinted. Perfect, she said. Let's see what story he's cooked up. But remember, Eva, trust your instincts. And whatever you do, don't let him see how much he's hurt you. That's exactly what Clara wants. I nodded, a new determination flooding through me. Greg and Clara had no idea what was coming. It was time to fight back. The text startup buzzed with energy, a stark contrast to the turmoil in my personal life. I'd thrown myself into work, rather desperate for any distraction from the mess Greg and Clara had made. As I pored over lines of code, a gentle tap on my shoulder startled me. Eva, you okay? James, my new colleague, looked at me with concern. You've been staring at that screen for hours. I forced a smile. I'm fine, just focused. James wasn't buying it. Come on, let's grab coffee. You look like you could use a break. As we walked to the nearby cafe, James's easy demeanor slowly chipped away at my defenses. Before I knew it, I was spilling the whole sordid tale. That's, wow, James said, shaking his head. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I sighed, stirring my latte absently. Thanks. I just wish I knew what was really going on. Why would Greg do this? James leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. You know, I might be able to help with that. My eyebrows shot up. How? Well, before I moved here, I worked in digital forensics, he explained. If Greg's been communicating with his mother about this, there might be a trail we can follow. Hope flared in my chest, quickly followed by doubt. I don't know, James. That seems invasive. He held up his hands. It's just an option. But Eva, you owe it to yourself to find the truth. Don't let them rob you of your peace. His words echoed in my mind as I returned home that evening. Aunt Margaret was waiting, a gleam in her eye that I'd come to recognize as her plotting look. I've been doing some digging, she announced, and I think I found something interesting about Clara. My pulse quickened. What is it? Aunt Margaret pulled out a stack of old newspapers. It seems our dear Clara has a history of, shall we say, meddling in her children's relationships. As we pored over the articles, a pattern emerged. Clara had interfered in not just Greg's past relationships, but those of his siblings as well. Each time, she'd manipulated situations to drive wedges between couples, always positioning herself as the devoted mother. She's been doing this for years, I whispered, horrified. But why? Aunt Margaret's expression was grim. Control, dear, it's all about control. A text from Greg interrupted our research. Eva, please, we need to talk. I can explain everything. I showed Aunt Margaret the message, my hands shaking. What should I do? She squeezed my shoulder. That's up to you, sweetheart. But remember, knowledge is power, and now you have knowledge. Taking a deep breath, I typed out a reply. Fine, tomorrow, 2-page M. The coffee shop on Main. As I hit send, James's offer echoed in my mind. Was it wrong to want concrete proof, to need more than just Greg's word? Aunt Margaret, I said slowly, what if there was a way to know for sure what Greg and Clara have been saying to each other? Her eyebrows rose. Go on, I explained James's suggestion, watching her face carefully. To my surprise, she nodded. Desperate times, dear, she said. If they're willing to play dirty, maybe it's time we level the playing field. The next morning I arrived at work early, my stomach in knots. James was already there, a questioning look on his face. I'll do it, I blurted out. Can you help me find out what they've been saying? James nodded, his expression serious. Are you sure about this, Eva? I thought about the years I'd spent building a life with Greg, the future we'd planned together. Then I remembered Clara's smug face as she locked me out of my own home. I'm sure, I said firmly. I need to know the truth. As James began setting up his equipment, a notification popped up on my phone, an email from an unknown sender. With trembling fingers I opened it. The subject line read, The Truth About Clara Trent. Attached was a video file. As I pressed play, Clara's face filled the screen, her expression cold and calculating. And then she began to speak, revealing secrets that would change everything. The video of Clara's confession burned in my mind as I threw myself into work. Each line of code I wrote felt like a step away from the chaos she'd created. James and I had been assigned a major project, developing a new security system for a high-profile client. It was exactly the distraction I needed. Eva, these algorithms are incredible, James said, leaning over my shoulder to examine my screen. You've got an incredible talent. Don't let anyone dim your light. His words warmed me, a stark contrast to the cold manipulation I'd endured from Clara. Thanks, James, I couldn't have done it without your support. As we worked late into the evening, I found myself opening up to James about the video. I can't believe Clara would go to such lengths to control Greg's life. She admitted to sabotaging all his previous relationships, even going as far as hiring people to create false evidence of infidelity. James shook his head, disgust evident on his face. That's beyond toxic. Have you shown Greg the video yet? I sighed, the weight of my decision heavy on my shoulders. No, I'm not sure if I should. Part of me wants to confront him with it, but another part wants to move on. James finished softly. I nodded, surprised at how well he understood. Is that terrible of me? Not at all, he assured me. You've been through hell, Eva. It's natural to want to protect yourself. As if on cue my phone buzzed, a text from Greg, Eva, please. We need to talk. I miss you. My heart clenched. Despite everything, a small part of me still longed for the life we'd had. But the evidence of Clara's manipulation was undeniable. Could I ever trust Greg again, knowing how easily he'd been swayed by his mother? You don't have to decide anything right now, James said gently, noticing my distress. Let's focus on finishing this project. Success is the best revenge, right? I managed a weak smile, grateful for his understanding. Over the next few days we poured ourselves into our work. The more we accomplished, the more confident I felt. For the first time since the betrayal, I began to see a future beyond the pain Clara had caused. On the day of our presentation to the client, I felt a surge of excitement. This was my chance to prove my worth, not just to the company, but to myself. As I stood before the board, outlining our innovative security measures, I caught James's encouraging smile from the back of the room. Miss Trent, this is impressive work, the CEO said, as I concluded. We'd like to offer you a permanent position as head of our cybersecurity division. Stunned, I glanced at James, who was beaming with pride. Thank you, sir. I'm honored. As we left the meeting, riding high on our success, James pulled me into a celebratory hug. The warmth of his embrace stirred something in me, a feeling I thought I'd lost. But our moment was shattered by a familiar voice. Eva? I turned to see Greg standing in the lobby, his face a mix of confusion and hurt as he took in the scene before him. I've been trying to reach you. I didn't realize you'd moved on so quickly. The accusation in his tone ignited a fire within me. Moved on? Greg, you kicked me out of our home without so much as a conversation. You let your mother dictate our entire relationship. Greg's eyes widened. What are you talking about? I never. Save it. I cut him off, my voice shaking. I know everything, Greg, about Clara's manipulation, about how she's controlled your life. I have proof. The color drained from his face. Eva, please, let me explain. I stood at a crossroads, the weight of the video evidence heavy in my pocket. In that moment I had to decide. Confront Greg with the truth and potentially shatter what remained of our relationship. Or walk away and fully embrace the new life I was building. James placed a supportive hand on my shoulder. Whatever you decide, Eva, I'm here for you. Taking a deep breath, I made my choice. I paced Aunt Margaret's living room, the weight of my decision heavy on my shoulders. The confrontation with Greg at my workplace had left me shaken, but also more determined than ever to take control of my life. If you're going to confront them, be smart about it, Aunt Margaret advised, her eyes sharp with concern. They must understand the weight of their actions. I nodded, my mind racing. I have the video of Clara confessing everything, but is it enough? James, who had become an unexpected ally in this ordeal, leaned forward. Eva, you have more than just the video. You have your strength, your new job, and people who believe in you. As we brainstormed late into the night, a plan began to take shape. It wasn't just about exposing Clara's manipulations anymore. It was about reclaiming my power and ensuring Greg understood the consequences of his weakness. The next morning I received an unexpected call from Greg's sister, Sarah. Eva, I heard about what happened. I think there's something you should know about Clara. My heart raced as Sarah revealed a shocking truth. Clara had been embezzling money from the family business for years, using it to fund her manipulative schemes. The revelation added a new layer of urgency to our plan. With trembling hands I dialed Greg's number. We need to talk, all of us, including your mother. He agreed, sounding both relieved and terrified. We set a meeting for the following evening at our old house, the home Clara had so cruelly expelled me from. As I prepared for the confrontation, doubt crept in. Was I ready to face them? Could I really go through with this? James squeezed my hand reassuringly. Remember, Eva, you're not alone in this. We're all here for you. Aunt Margaret nodded in agreement. You've come so far, dear. Don't let them dim your light now. Their words bolstered my resolve. I spent the day finalizing our strategy, ensuring every detail was in place. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice and reclaiming my self-worth. As evening fell, I stood before the mirror, hardly recognizing the strong, determined woman staring back at me. Gone was the broken, betrayed wife. In her place stood someone ready to fight for her future. The drive to my former home felt surreal. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Greg's car already there. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out, my head held high. Greg opened the door, his face a mix of emotions. Eva, save it. I cut him off, brushing past him into the house. Clara sat in the living room, her usual mask of superiority firmly in place. Well, isn't this a surprise? Come to beg for forgiveness, Eva? I felt a surge of anger, but kept my voice steady. Actually, Clara, I'm here to give you both a chance to come clean about everything. Greg looked confused, while Clara's eyes narrowed suspiciously. I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think you do, I replied, pulling out my phone. But just in case your memory needs refreshing, I played the video of Clara's confession, watching as the color drained from both their faces. Greg stumbled back, shock evident in his features. Mom? What is this? Clara's mask slipped, revealing a flash of panic before she composed herself. This is clearly a fabrication. Eva, I'm disappointed in you, resorting to such tactics. But I wasn't finished. It's not just the video, Clara, I know about the embezzlement, too. At this, Clara's composure cracked entirely. Greg whirled to face his mother, disbelief etched on his face. Is this true? As Clara sputtered denials, I felt a strange calm settle over me. This was my moment of truth, the culmination of weeks of pain and planning. Greg, Clara, I said, my voice steady, you have a choice to make. You can continue living in this web of lies and manipulation, or you can own up to your actions and make things right. I paused, letting my words sink in. But understand this, whatever you choose, I'm done being a victim. I'm moving forward with my life, with or without you. The room fell silent, the tension palpable. In that moment I realized the true power of my journey wasn't in the revenge I'd sought, but in the strength I'd found within myself. Now it was time for Greg to make his choice, and for me to decide if I could ever truly forgive. The tension in the room was suffocating, as Greg and Clara absorbed the weight of my revelations. I stood my ground, heart pounding, waiting for their response. Greg, I want the truth, I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. Why did you let your mother ruin our marriage? Greg's face contorted with a mix of shame and confusion. Eva, I didn't know. I swear, I had no idea about the embezzlement or the extent of her manipulations. Clara's eyes darted between us, her usual composure cracking. This is preposterous. Greg, don't listen to her lies. She's trying to turn you against me, can't you see? I pulled out my phone, my finger hovering over the play button. Should we watch the video again, Clara? Or maybe we should call Sarah and have her explain about the missing funds? Greg's head snapped up at the mention of his sister. Sarah knows about this? Clara lunged for my phone, but I stepped back, keeping it out of reach. Don't you dare, she hissed. In that moment I saw the real Clara, desperate, cornered, and dangerous. Greg moved between us, his face pale. Mom, stop. Just stop. I felt a flicker of hope. Was Greg finally seeing the truth? But Clara wasn't done. She straightened, her mask of superiority sliding back into place. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I took steps to protect my son from a gold digger like you. And yes, I may have borrowed some money from the company. But everything I did for this family. Greg staggered back as if he'd been slapped. Borrowed? Mom, that's not borrowing. That's stealing. I watched as the realization dawned on him. The depth of his mother's deception, the years of manipulation, my heart ached for him, despite everything. Greg, I said softly, I need to know. Did you write that letter? Did you really want me gone? He turned to me, his eyes filled with anguish. No, Eva, I swear, I never wrote any letter. I came home that day, and you were just gone. Mom told me you'd left, that you couldn't handle our life anymore. The truth hit me like a tidal wave. All this time, we'd both been pawns in Clara's twisted game. Clara scoffed. Oh, please, you were miserable, Greg. I did what I had to do to free you from her clutches. Free him? I exploded. You destroyed our marriage. You manipulated your own son, stole from your family, all to maintain your sick control over Greg's life. Greg's face hardened. Enough, Mom. I want you out of this house. Now. Clara's eyes widened in disbelief. You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Greg said, his voice cold. But you're not welcome here anymore. As Clara sputtered and protested, Greg turned to me. Eva, I am so sorry. I had no idea. Can we talk, please? I know I don't deserve it, but I need to explain. I hesitated, torn between the lingering love I felt for Greg and the pain of our shattered trust. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was James. Eva, are you okay? Do you need backup? His concern warmed me, reminding me of the new life I'd built, the strength I'd found. I looked at Greg, seeing the hope and remorse in his eyes, then at Clara, still spewing venom, even as she gathered her things. In that moment, I realized the choice before me wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about the future I wanted to create for myself. I'll think about it, Greg, I said finally, but right now I need some time. As I walked out of the house that was once my home, I felt a strange mix of closure and uncertainty. The confrontation I'd dreamed of for weeks was over, but the real challenge was just beginning. Could I forgive Greg? Did I even want to? And what about James, who'd been my rock through all of this? I got into my car, my mind reeling. One thing was clear. The life I'd known was gone forever. Now I had to decide what to build from its ashes. The soft rustling of leaves in Aunt Margaret's garden did little to calm my racing thoughts. I paced the winding stone path, waiting for Greg to arrive. After our confrontation with Clara, he had begged for a chance to explain himself. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him here, on neutral ground. Aunt Margaret watched from the porch, her presence a comforting anchor. Remember, Eva, she had said earlier, whatever happens, you're stronger now. Trust your heart, but don't forget your head. The creak of the garden gate made me turn. Greg stood there, looking more haggard than I'd ever seen him. His eyes met mine, filled with a mixture of hope and fear. Eva, he began, his voice cracking. I can't begin to tell you how sorry I am. I held up a hand, stopping him. Before you say anything else, Greg, I need to know everything. No more lies, no more half-truths. I deserve that much. He nodded, sinking onto a nearby bench. For the next hour, Greg poured out a story of manipulation and control that spanned years. Clara's subtle undermining of our relationship, her financial hold over Greg, the constant guilt and emotional blackmail. I was weak, Greg admitted, his shoulders slumping. I let her come between us, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. But Eva, I still love you. I never stopped loving you. His words hit me like a physical blow. Part of me wanted to fall into his arms to believe that love could conquer all. But the stronger part, the part that had grown and thrived in the face of adversity, held back. Love isn't enough, Greg, I said softly. What about trust, respect, partnership? You let your mother destroy all of that. Greg's face crumpled. I know. But please, Eva, give me a chance to make it right. We can start over, rebuild what we had. As he spoke, my phone buzzed. A message from James. Hope everything's okay. Remember, you deserve happiness, Eva. Whatever that looks like for you. In that moment, the full weight of my decision crashed down on me. Greg, my past, the comfort of the familiar sat before me, offering a second chance. But James, representing my new life, my growth, my independence, was just a call away. I don't know if I can do this, Greg, I whispered. Tears threatening to spill. How can I ever trust you again? Greg reached for my hand, his touch both familiar and foreign. I'll do whatever it takes, Eva. Therapy, cutting ties with my mother, anything. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for one more chance. I closed my eyes, overwhelmed. Images flashed through my mind, our wedding day, full of hope and promise. The night Clara threw me out, shattering my world. James's encouraging smile as we worked late nights on our project. Aunt Margaret's unwavering support. When I opened my eyes I saw Greg watching me, his expression a mix of love and desperation. Behind him I caught sight of Aunt Margaret on the porch, her face etched with concern. I need time, Greg, I said, finally. This isn't a decision I can make right now, there's too much at stake. He nodded, disappointment and understanding warring on his face. I understand, just know that I'll be here, Eva, whatever you decide. As Greg left I sank onto the bench, emotionally drained. Aunt Margaret joined me, wrapping a comforting arm around my shoulders. Oh, sweetheart, she sighed, what a mess. I leaned into her embrace, feeling like a lost child. What do I do, Aunt Margaret? How'd I choose between the life I had and the life I could have? She stroked my hair gently. Only you can answer that, Eva. But remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to let go of what was and embrace what could be. As the sun set over the garden, casting long shadows across the flowers Greg and I had once planted together, I realized I was standing at a crossroads. The decision I made now would shape the rest of my life. With a deep breath I pulled out my phone, my finger hovering over two names, Greg and James. It was time to make a choice. I stood in front of the mirror in my new office, smoothing down my blazer. The nameplate on the desk behind me read Eva Trent, Chief Information Security Officer. It still felt surreal. Ready for your first day as the ISO? James asked, leaning against the door frame with a proud smile. I took a deep breath, as ready as I'll ever be. As we walked to the conference room for my first executive meeting, I couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed in just a few months. The day I chose to call James instead of Greg had been the first step on this new path. The meeting was a whirlwind of introductions, strategy discussions, and future planning. As I presented my vision for the company's cybersecurity, I caught James beaming at me from across the table. His unwavering support had been my rock through it all. After the meeting I retreated to my office, overwhelmed by a mix of excitement and nostalgia. My phone buzzed with a text from Aunt Margaret. So proud of you, sweetheart. Dinner tonight to celebrate? I smiled, typing back a quick, absolutely. Just then another message came through, from Greg. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it. Congratulations on the promotion, Eva. You deserve it. I hope you're happy. A lump formed in my throat. Despite everything, a part of me still cared for Greg. But as I looked around my new office, at the life I'd built for myself, I knew I'd made the right choice. I was about to respond when a commotion outside caught my attention. To my shock I saw Clara being escorted out by security, her face a mask of fury. You can't do this to me, she shrieked. Don't you know who I am? James appeared at my side. She tried to gain access to our servers, he explained quietly, looks like old habits die hard. I watched as Clara was led away, feeling a strange mix of pity and vindication. Her actions had cost her everything. Her son, her reputation, and now her freedom. As the day wound down I found myself back in my office, gazing out at the Minneapolis skyline. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, reminding me of the sunsets Greg and I used to watch together. A soft knock interrupted my reverie. It was James. Penny for your thoughts, he asked, joining me at the window. I turned to him, really looking at this man who had become so important to me. I was just thinking about how far I've come, how different my life is now. James took my hand, his touch sending a warm flutter through me. You did it all yourself, Eva, you're incredible. In that moment, looking into his eyes I felt the last pieces of my old life fall away. The pain, the betrayal, the self-doubt. All of it melted in the face of this new, stronger version of myself. James, I said softly, thank you. For everything. He smiled, leaning in closer. You never have to thank me, Eva. I'm just honored to be part of your journey. As our lips met and in a tender kiss I felt a sense of peace wash over me. This was where I belonged. Later that evening, as Aunt Margaret, James and I clinked glasses over a celebratory dinner, Aunt Margaret raised her glass for a toast. To Eva, she said, her eyes shining with pride. Look at how far you've come, dear. You've built yourself up from nothing. Your strength and resilience are an inspiration to us all. I felt tears prick my eyes as I looked at these two people who had stood by me through it all. To new beginnings, I added, my voice thick with emotion. As we continued our celebration, I realized that the journey I'd been on wasn't just about overcoming betrayal or finding professional success. It was about rediscovering myself, my worth, and my capacity for love and trust. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time I was excited about the future. With James by my side, Aunt Margaret's unwavering support and the strength I'd found within myself, I was ready for whatever came next. As the night wore on, filled with laughter and love, I silently thanked the universe for this second chance at happiness. The Eva who had been thrown out of her home all those months ago was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth, who had faced her demons, and who had emerged stronger than ever. This was my new beginning, and I was going to make the most of every moment.